I just had my first ever recruiting call. Ooh, look at me, look at me. And it was not what I expected at all. Like, I literally just spent an hour prepping essentially for an interview kind of call, thinking I needed to talk about my background, my history, um, yachting, hospitality, all that stuff. Not one thing. Not one thing. I don't think one thing was asked about me. And not even, I don't even think we ended it with like, do you want the job? It was just like, if you're interested, here's how to apply. So now I know I don't need to prepare for an interview next time I have a recruiter call. But it was actually pretty cool. It was a great experience to first of all, have someone reach out to me and say, hey, I think you would be a good fit for this role with your hospitality background, your yachting background. And it's exciting for me because it's aviation. And I've always thought about aviation and getting into that sector. Uh, so to have someone reach out to me and essentially see if I'm interested was a really cool feeling. It just felt good to have someone say, like, hey, you have a pretty cool background. I think you might be good for this job. Are you interested? Uh, but back to the actual process. So they reached out to me, asked if I was interested. I said yes. So we did a discovery call. And again, I was still kind of thinking it would be slightly more interview-ish, like, seeing if I looked professional. Well, they probably were checking my pulse, checking the vibe, seeing if I was professional, seeing if I could hold a conversation, or maybe what kind of questions I asked, or maybe it's literally just to give information and then next steps, because that's what the call felt like to me. Is she did a wonderful explanation of, like, what the job entailed, um how many, gosh, now it's all like I wrote notes, but it's all drawing a blank. Have you ever had that where you like talk to someone or have an interview and you're just so in it that as soon as you're out of the moment, it's like just leaves your brain? Anyway, uh yeah, she just had a great way of explaining kind of the ins and outs of it. I did have several questions that were too detailed for her to know, which is when she mentioned those were questions essentially for the hiring manager. So I definitely have a base now of like what this job entails, how many days you work, how many days you have off, like the hours, the pay. Um, yeah, even training. Training sounds intense, like a whole month of training, just ground training. And then you do 3 flights with another stewardess, not stewardess, flight attendant. I don't know why I said stewardess. Yachting, that's why. But yeah, I I'm still just blown away that that phone call had nothing to do with me, and it had everything to do with the job. and what it entails. So, uh, a couple things that really stood out to me about the details of this job were that you essentially work like 18 days of the month, and your stretches can be anywhere from 4 to 8 day tours. And if you do an 8 day tour, you have like a guaranteed 5 days off. And I asked a few follow-up questions with that, kind of like, well, what does a typical day look like? And it sounds like the day could change on a dime. I feel like you might get an itinerary for the day, and by the end of the day have flown a completely different itinerary. So it sounds like adaptability is a big necessity in private aviation, which makes sense because even in private yachting, even in yachting, adaptability is huge. Like every day is different, every guest is different, um, and there's so many factors. And I'm sure this is the same for aviation, like weather and routes and guests, even, people canceling, people booking, all this kind of stuff. So I could see how it would be the type of job that you're just kind of along for the ride and adapting as much as possible with it. I love how with yachting, one of the things that was nice because you got to know the guests really well, especially chartering when people chartered the boat, is you were able to sort of develop a relationship with the guests. When I say relationship, I mean professional relationship, and just getting to know them a little more personal because you spend days with them, right? So it's with yachting, it's full on 24 hours for like 7 days if you do like a 7 day charter. With aviation, totally different because you might be on a 2 hour flight and then be on a 5 hour flight and then do a flight with no guests on to go pick up other guests and then do that flight with them. And so the times are going to be different. All the flights are going to be different, and they're not going to be 24 hours up to a week long, right? It's hopping around and just a few hours here, a few hours there, which is so interesting to me because I'm so used to having more time with the guests, and it's this all-encompassing week-long tour of guest service. And so it's almost like I can't wrap my head around just being with a guest for or a group of guests for 4 hours or 8 hours. It seems I don't know. I just feel like it'd go quick. Like all the flights would go quick because it's, you know, takeoff, service, landing, and not a whole lot of, getting to know the guests, which is part of it. I mean, it's all, you know, keep it discreet, uh, let them enjoy their flight, just be kind of a fly on the wall. Not a fly on the wall, but just, you're available, but you're not like encroaching in their space. Service is so weird in that way. It's like you have to be, you have to anticipate guest needs. And once you get really good at that part, it's it just flows. But like I said, in yachting, you have several days to kind of like start to get to know their habits and their routines, and then you can anticipate their needs better. But I feel like with a flight, especially for guests and owners that are flying, you might not have the same person ever. So you're just constantly um, learning a new person, learning a new group, like for 24 hours a day. Just kidding. You can't fly, you can't be on that long. FAA regulations, you can only fly, I want to say, gosh, I don't know what the FAA regulations are, but yeah, you can only be in the air or like be on duty flying for so many hours. Um, so yeah, anticipating guest needs when you don't have really that much time to get to know the guest. Uh, the other interesting part about flight attendant service, especially on private jets, is you're actually like plating food. I think most of the time it's catered in. So you get food catered in to the flight, but then we have to plate it. We have to make it look pretty and nice and all that stuff, which thankfully I've been around enough chefs my whole life to know some stuff about plating and making it look pretty and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I just the schedule seems decent. Like I said, if you have rules and regulations on flying, so you can't just be flying 24 hours a day for like 8 days straight. Um, but I feel like it's gotta wear on you, especially just altitude, being up in the air for so many hours a day and then coming back down and yeah, just being at altitude and coming back down. I wonder if that affects people. I should have asked her. Uh, gosh, what an interesting field of work. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. I definitely want to take some time to think about if this is the right challenge for me at this time. I don't get me wrong, I've always wanted to be a flight attendant. I think this would be a super cool job to have. I just don't know if I was gonna say ready, but what's great about them is it sounds like they kind of do these in-person interviews once a month. So and that was a great thing about this discovery call was she mentioned the next one is like at the end of April. And so I said, okay, if the timing doesn't line up, when's the next one? Because some of these companies, they only run their interviews or training, every say 6 months. And so think it sounds like they do one a month, like their in-person interviews, they do once a month. So I have some time to think about this, think about if this is the next move. I Yeah, it's fun to think about new opportunities and new opportunities, but also like new challenges. Like I feel like this would be a great challenge as far as even just the safety, airline safety, and learning all of that. Um, because yeah, yachting, it's a week-long course to do the safety courses to be in yachting, and this sounds like it's a month-long course. So it's definitely there's a lot to do. Okay, I'm still reeling about this whole thing. I just wanted to jump on here, talk about it. I don't know if aviation's on any of your guys' minds, but look it up. It's a pretty interesting field of work. So that's my story today. See you tomorrow.